Last night I put a story on my Instagram having read an article in the Farmers Guardian about basically there being an anti-farmer narrative in schools. So I thought, well, I'll put a story on and see if this is something which lots of people have experienced. Well, the response has been overwhelming. I've had so many messages from people with their thoughts and experiences on farming in schools. Now, obviously, these messages that I've had are personal experiences, but a lot of very, very interesting similarities. For example, teachers who may be vegan are influencing children with these viewpoints. Again, that is not the case for everybody, I'm sure, but the fact it exists is a little bit scary. Really quite a lot of worrying examples of people saying that their children or children they know are bullied because they're from a farming family. And it is a really difficult one because I mentioned this in my episode last week when I talked about young farmers, in that peers of farming children find it really hard to relate and contend with the life which somebody on a farm has. So it's a really, really tricky one. But yeah, the fact that there is bullying because you're from a farm is just really, really sad. I think this just all echoes the Farmers Guardian article that I read. It was MP Alicia Kearns who is talking about this in the article. So I think it's really worth a read, and also really worth thinking about what we can actually do to combat this. And obviously there is maybe a problem with some of the children bullying other children, but unfortunately that's always going to happen. Perhaps we do need to get the information to teachers so that they can be pushing this down and spreading the message, as they teach. I think things like Farmer Time, NFU Farmers for Schools. I've recently done a video project with the NFU education team as well, which will be going into schools. So I think there's lots of things where we're trying to help and trying to combat all the issues. But do we need to be doing more? We actually talked about the idea of teachers being given the information to teach with and then pushing the message further down to the children in our most recent AHDB live stream. It was a really, really interesting discussion, across the board. But touching on that, I think we all felt the same in that we need to get the resources to teachers, and there definitely are ways of doing that through organisations like the HDB, the NFU. So if you're a teacher watching this thinking, I'd be really interested to show my students some of the realities of agriculture, and British agriculture as well specifically, then get in touch with these organisations. And also, on the whole, local farmers would definitely be willing to come in and speak to you. They might bring a tractor in, they could bring lambs in. These things are really good to engage the children. We're on day 3 of the new antibiotics. So if you saw my last video, you'd know that we got the vet out for this foot because the antibiotics we were using, we didn't feel were doing enough. Now, the vet said that this was likely to happen in that the kind of infection would come out here at the top of the hoof, which it really, really has. So if you like gory stuff, there's also pus at the bottom a little bit as well. So we are ready to bathe this foot and see what's underneath. We just use salt water to wash out the part of the hoof where the infection has come out. Then we use our trusty blue spray to cover any of the open bits. This week it was World Soil Day, and I thought I'd show you some of the roots of our cover crop. From left to right we have vetch, phacelia, tillage radish, fodder radish, mustard and buckwheat. These are all different varieties to try and ensure that we're getting different rooting properties across the field. Cover crops mop up nutrients, help structure the soil and sequester carbon. We're back with the lame sheep. When I spoke to the vet about this foot, they advised 5 days of antibiotics. We spoke to them again and we're seeing improvement, but not as much as we'd like. So we have moved on to another 5 days. And here you can see the used foot at
day 7 of antibiotics, and we are really pleased with how it's looking. The swelling's going down, the infection looks a lot better. As you can see, there we go again, in with the blue spray on any bits where the infection has come out or there's open skin or an open wound. We'll continue for 3 more days and I'll give you an update.
Just quickly heading outside, taking Ralph out and a quick check on the hens and the sheep which are inside before heading to the farming breakfast. It's put on by GSC Grays, and I think it's basically a bit of a sector roundup and a look ahead to what the future's going to hold as well for the industry. So this is me trying to take Ralph on a little walk and he just sits there. Come on. Good boy. I've just got back from my farming breakfast and, well, my first job is going to be to walk around the sheep because it was dark when I left, so obviously didn't get round to them. But a really interesting morning. I just think on the whole it's good to go to these things if you can, if nothing more than just to have a chat to a few farmers and almost use it as a social kind of opportunity. But some really interesting things I think came out of the breakfast as well. As with a lot of these things, these meetings, these talks, there's a focus on tricky times ahead and the challenge of navigating through politics and the, well, reduction and then end of BPS as well. But I think there are also hopefully some positives to take. So one of the things that was being talked about in this breakfast was the free farm business consultancy advice that you can take advantage of, basically funded by DEFRA. Now, there was definitely, I think, a bit of a worry for people saying, oh, well, do we want advice which is directly funded by DEFRA? Does that mean they're going to find out all of our farm business information and things like that? Well, actually, all that's shared is basically a couple of bits about you and the farm to ensure that you're eligible to receive the free consultancy advice, and then after that it's between you and whichever provider you choose. So there's 17 providers, land agents, etc., who you can utilise. So I guess it might be that you already have a relationship built up with one of those companies and you feel comfortable in taking the advice from them. Some other interesting points about the kind of state of the supply chain at the moment, which is obviously making farming, particularly in some sectors, really tricky, really difficult. Also, a bit of a nod towards the idea of whether the supply chain offers opportunities for farmers in terms of environmental and carbon kind of aims and goals. So actually, will your product command a more expensive price if you're ticking the kind of environmental sustainability boxes as well? So an interesting opportunity potentially going forward.
Does anybody else's dog have these mad moments where they just go absolutely crazy? Look at that leap. He's getting tired now.
I've cleaned out one of the hen huts. Now, I haven't actually spread the shavings around very much because they actually really like to scrat in it. We've got quite a medley of hens in here, quite a few old ones. So these are just your usual brown Rhode Island Reds, good layers. They are, I think they're French Morans. They're really wild. And then this one here is a Silky. You can see she's got really fluffy feet as well. And she's actually laying. None of the other ones in here are laying, but she is for some reason. And I think when I mucked them out, I actually disturbed her. So that's why she's been a bit more vocal than the other ones. But I'll just put them some fresh water in and then they'll be happy. Also, following my last video, lots of you are keen for me to do a bit of a machinery tour, a kit tour, and a bit of an explanation as to why we use the bits of kit that we do. That is coming, it's in the pipeline, it just won't be in this episode. I'm glad that people have asked for me to explain why we use the pieces of kit that we do. I think it's really, really important to talk about that, because I try and kind of reiterate all the time that farmers' systems are different. It doesn't mean they're bad farmers, it means that they're just doing what's best for them, what's right for their farm, their labour, their land type. So yeah, I'm glad people have recognised that it's okay to use different stuff and it's okay to have different farming systems as well. I feel like we just need to appreciate how glorious this morning is. I'm not gonna lie, most of my YouTube episodes so far, I haven't done many, but they have been rainy, foggy, miserable, and this morning is absolutely glorious. It's definitely really, really fresh. We had a bit of a frost last night, but I'm walking around the sheep at the moment and they way prefer it cold. The wet they don't like not having their feet dry and their fleeces wet all the time as well. This morning I've been doing a little bit of filming for a short promo video. I am going to be speaking at the Wales Young Farmers Club conference in January. It's on Saturday the 14th of January. It starts at 10 a.m. and the theme of the conference is going to be farming journeys. So I'm very excited to talk at that. I think it should be a really, really good occasion, good to get a bit further away from home and I guess meet loads of different people as well. I'll put the email address for who you need to contact below as well if you're interested in finding out some more info or attending as well. Well, this is a very different type of farming. We're here collecting our Christmas tree. We pick up a couple for other people as well, so we've brought the pickup and trailer. And yeah, we've been chatting to the people who work here. And actually it's fascinating what goes into just basically getting the trees ready for Christmas.
Something that you really notice when you get out of the car here is just the sheer number of trees, but also how much it smells like Christmas trees as well.
Brought the dog because couldn't possibly leave him at home on his own, and look at those paws on the steering wheel. How hilarious is that? It looks like he's about to drive off, steal the car. We've got 7 in the trailer now, and our final one we may have to go and cut down because we're after a different variety to these.
Here are the lads cutting down one of the Norway spruces. It's, as I said, a different variety and we had to go and pick this one ourselves. You can see the needles look slightly different to a normal tree. Boys are dragging it home for us back to the car, and this place is fascinating. They grow 500,000 trees and they actually walk 350,000 of them to grade them, so it's a serious operation. As a farming diversification, this has been a really, really successful one for the farm here.
So usually our trees are quite big. I think this one might be one of the biggest we've had, and I'm actually a bit worried about getting this one in. So we've just topped off our load with this big Norway spruce. Just need to get it tied on.
So I've spotted a bit of kit. Now this machine, you put the tree into that hole there where the tree is netted. It goes up an elevator and then is basically put into the trailer. Now this obviously is reducing labour power so much. When a Christmas tree is cut, it's cut and then left on the floor for 2 days, as this basically reduces the stress. This tractor and trailer combination then comes and collects the trees ready to be stacked up for people to come and buy them. So this is the slight problem we were worried about. It's a little bit wide at this point, and it's definitely going to be a 2-man job to get this through the door. Well, it fitted just.
I'm heading to the North Riding and County Durham NFU AGM at lunchtime today, where I will be doing a very brief speech on my role as an NFU ambassador and showcasing what the programme is all about and why it's worth getting involved. When I finish today, that will pretty much be the end of my kind of formal speaking, filming duties for this year until the new year. So very exciting, and well, I'm ready to unwind before my holiday. Thank you as always for tuning into this episode. If you liked it, please share and subscribe. Now, as this video is released, I should hopefully be just about landing in France. So you may not get a video next week as I'll be skiing.